Alrighty, so we're going to go over the tips training for our Emerald Fields location. So this is going to be involving our charge tips as well as our cash tip logs. Just a little overview before we get into the training. I'm going to go through and give kind of a high-level explanation of each process. And then at the end of each process, we're going to do a demo of how to actually do these in real time and where we can find this information for um, our logs here. So the first one we're going to start with is our charge tip logs. These are going to be pulled for our Emerald Field stores. And then for who does this, we're going to have our managers review the timesheets for the record part of the hours. So I'll show you after this where we can find those hours that we're going to be inputting into our charge log. Now, this is going to be done, recording these hours are going to be done simultaneously of putting them in the log. So we'll do them side by side. You'll get kind of a better picture of that when we do our live demo. I recommend when you're pulling your timesheets that we use the summary by day view in the timesheet. I recommend using this view just because for our charge tip logs, we don't want to include anyone's PTO. So this way we'll be able to get like a better count of the regular and overtime hours that an employee worked. Let's see here. And then once you have those hours, we're going to be filling them into that charge tip log. If you see on the screen, there is two green highlighted boxes for which sections of the tip log we're going to be filling out at this stage. The first section is going to be always our location and then our date range for which, payroll processing range that we're doing. And then for this below section that has like your first, last name, employee ID, hours, and non-cash tips, you're only going to be focused on the first name, the last name, the employee ID number, and the total hours for this here. It's very important that we have our employee ID number accurate to who's receiving these tips, because this information is what I'm going to be pulling over into work to get our employees paid out. And then right here, I do want to point out that at this point, we are not going to be inputting anything into the non-cash tip column. That column has a formula in it, so you won't have to input anything into that section in our next step when we put our actual cash or non-cash tip amount. It'll auto calculate how much your employees are supposed to receive based on how many hours worked that we have in the system. So that'll bring us over to our next step, which is how we can get that total number of tips and record it into the charge log. So the manager will gather this information from Posabit, and then you'll want to do this on the final day that the period is closed. So like when it closes on Saturday, you'll want to pull this on Sunday, so that way it's able to capture all of our sales data from the day before. And then this screenshot here is just kind of what you're going to see in Posabit as far as where you can pull those tips from. And then here we'll go back to our spreadsheet, and in that highlighted box there, we'll put that charge number that we got from Posabit, and then this will automatically calculate our non-cash tip amount for each of our employees. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out this part of our presentation and do a live demo of how to fill out that charge log and where to get that data from. So just give me 1 second to minimize some of these screens. And then here is my charge log template. I'm going to go ahead and delete out the Jane Doe and the John Doe so that way we can use some real-time examples. And then if you notice this little column here, when I deleted out the hours, it gave us like a error code. That's because there is a formula in that column that's going to calculate everything. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and minimize this and get our manager view of our work screen up. So I'm logged in as a test manager. So how I would recommend that you go through and pull your team's timesheets, very similar to how we were doing it when we're approving time. I think the most efficient way to do this is by going to our hamburger menu, going to my team members. And then for this example, I'm just going to use the top 3 errands here. And then there we go. And then I'm just going to go select them and hit the 3 buttons up here for their timesheet. And here you'll be able to see their timesheet. You can see the hours up here, so you can find them in different sections. The reason why I recommend doing summary by day, though, is because you'll be able to see whether or not the employee has PTO or sick time at a glance. So that way you're not having to do any math or dig through any punches to see if there's any PTO or sick time that we need to take out. So for this example, you'll see we have the regular and overtime here. And then below, it's got you a total for both, and then the total for both of them combined. So for this example, for our errand, we're gonna take this 55.69, and then we'll go into our charge tip log, and we'll put that 55.69 in there. And then for our employee ID number, you can find this in several sections of work. But what I would recommend is you use this employee ID number here. That way you're not having to click out of any screens. It's just there for you to view. So for Aaron, it's 1301. So we'll go back into our charge tip log and put in 1301. And then just for time's sake for us, I'm going to just put Aaron H here. When you go to fill this out for your store, though, you'll need to put their full first name and full last name so we know who you're referring to. Now I'm going to go over to our next employee that we're going to add, and that is going to be done by this little toggle arrow right beside Aaron's name. And that'll bring us over to our other Aaron Willis. So as you can see, I'm in the summary by day view. I can at a glance tell that there's no PTO or any hours that I need to remove from this. So I can go ahead and get these 66.18 hours for Aaron Willis and put it on our charge log. And then we'll add that here. And then we need to get the employee ID number, which can be found up here beside their name. This Aaron is just 3,000 for their employee ID number. And then I'll put Aaron W. So you'll want to go through each of your team after your timesheets are approved and get those total hours in. After you have those total hours in, we'll go into Posabit and get our total amount for the store. And to do that, we're going to want to select our store for any of our multi-store operators. You'll be able to do that by clicking the stores and then going into which one you want to do. I'm just going to use Manitou as an example for this. So once you click into Manitou, we're going to go under to the reporting tab. And then we're going to do a tip report. And then for this one, either one of these will work. You can also use your sales report as well. Posibit does a really great job at like making sure that you can access this information in multiple spots. So for this, we're going to do our sales, and then I'm just going to use the date range from last payroll. So that's the 23rd through the 5th. Apply and run. And then if you see here, it's going to have our sales for that time. And then this little column has our tips. That's going to be the amount that we're going to want to put into our charge log. So when we get over to our charge log, we'll go ahead and put that amount. And then if you notice, when I put that amount, it changed the amount of non-cash tips for the employees based off of how many hours worked. It's very important that we don't edit this column right here because that formula is in that column and our numbers are going to be off if we edit that. All right, and then keep in mind, we'll want to put in our location and date range for the payroll as well. For example sakes, I didn't do it on this one. Let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. That's a overview of our charge log tips training. We'll go back and get our cash version of this now. All right. So now we'll get into the cash tip logs. This one's going to be a lot less steps than the other one. We recommend that you fill out your cash log daily. So that way at the end of the week, you're not trying to compile all this data into one. You'll already have it. You may just have to put in one day for that Saturday before. So we recommend that the manager do this. However, whoever's closing your store that night, whether you've assigned that to an ASM or yourself, they can also input the information on this tip log. And then this is just a screenshot of what that tip log looks like. And then you'll want to fill out this section here. Keep in mind, there is a spot for you to put your location as well as updating the dates for the payroll that you're in. And then once you get those filled out, you're going to email those over to payroll. You'll want to do this after you double check everything for accuracy. And then we do just request that when you send over this email to us, please compile it into one email. We use this example that Mick from our RGO store sent over. Mick has the store name, the tip log name, and then the payroll name or the payroll date for their subject. And then they've also got both the charge and the cash logs attached. Very simple. We just ask that it's compiled into one email. We have a ton of stores and I get probably about 80 to 90 of these logs in. So any type of consolidating that we can do really helps me out. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pivot over to filling out the cash log template and just showing you what needs to be filled out here. Now, just like the charge log, there is a column in here that has a formula in there. Please do not edit this column for the totals. The formula is supposed to sum the date range here. So whatever you put in the date range for people is what's going to come out to your total. So I'm going to go ahead and delete out John and Jane Doe, and then we are going to use Aaron as an example of what we should fill out there. Aaron's employee ID is 1301. We've already discussed how to find that employee ID, so I'll save us some time there. For the last name, I'm just going to put H. And then first name, we're doing Aaron. And then for this, you'll go through at the end of each night and put how much tips the employee has made for that day. So we'll just put that they made $25, 23, 22. We'll say that they were off on these 2 days. They made 34. And then as you see, as I'm filling this in, that total amount is also updating with that. It's very important that we leave that there to do the sum, just because if this total is wrong, your upload for your cash tips are going to be off. And then this one's a very straightforward sheet. So once you have that cash tip log filled out, you're good to go. And then we do just want to remind everyone that there is a payroll deadline that's Monday at 9 a.m. We do ask that your timesheets as well as your tip logs are submitted over to us before that time or at that time. Like I had mentioned earlier, I have about 80 of these logs that I have to go through. So with that having a quick turnaround, I also have to submit payroll for us Tuesday by noon. So if I don't get this by the deadline, it's a long process for me, and I end up spending about 15 hours on Monday alone just trying to get everything ready for submission on Tuesday at noon. So anything that you guys can do to help me out, get these tip logs in and accurate over to me, I really appreciate all the support from that. And then to close out, I've got mine and Andrew's contacts here. If you do need to contact us, or if you guys have any questions, you can, if it's like an urgent payroll thing, feel free to Teams us. That's probably the quickest way to get in touch with us. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're always here. That you guys can use us as a resource if you have any questions for filling out anything. With that being said, that wraps up our training for tips. And I'm just going to open the floor up to you guys if you have any questions. So,
nope, no questions. That's pretty much what I do every week and will continue to do.
awesome.
Appreciate you, Holly.
Yeah. Thank you, Holly. I always use you as my example for your logs. You've done such a good job with that. I cannot appreciate you enough for how much you guys have done for me at Manitou, because that is a huge store, and I appreciate everything that you've done to get me over your stuff on time. I don't think I've ever really needed to reach out to you to remind you, so I really do appreciate you.
Aw, well, thank you so much. You too. You do a lot for everyone here.
No, thank you. Well, with that being said, us not having any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and end this meeting here. Give us back 10 minutes of our time. And yeah, if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out to me and Andrew. We're always here for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.